I just underscore that it is welcome, arguably overdue, but welcome, that now NATO is focusing increasingly on Arctic security and Arctic Sentry. Obviously, it's a manifestation of that. It needs to be fully developed, and what you're hearing from all of us is the commitment in order to do that. Peter?
Can I just add? I totally agree with Mark, and what we have seen until now has been different kind of training activities and so on. I think what is most important about Arctic Sentry is that we now want to be permanent present in the Arctic region. And by the way, as everybody knows, in the Arctic region, it's enormous, and there are a lot of differences in the region. But to be permanent present and to also have the support from the rest of NATO, because as Arctic states, I mean, we have been aware about the security situation, of course, for many years, and as Mark just said, it is changing because of Russia. But now we have the support from the rest of NATO. We need to be permanent present. We need to be strong on surveillance, and we need, of course, together to invest in the needed capabilities, and by common procurement, by common investments, and by this framework that has been decided on. I think we are in a much better and in a much stronger position now to protect the Arctic region.
Can I say that if you think about NATO's presence in the Arctic and you go 20 years back in time, it was very little. Yeah. And we have worked on Arctic nations to bring the Arctic to the center of attention of NATO, because NATO should matter to all of NATO territory. So I would say that this initiative should respond to security and stability. And right now, as we speak, we have 34,000 troops exercising in northern Finland and northern Norway. That's a NATO exercise being led for the circumstances in that part of the Arctic. And now we are also developing capacities tailored to the challenges in broader parts of the Arctic. So this is the right thing to go. You don't need the same response at every place, but I agree with Prime Minister Carney that Russia is a defining threat. On the longer horizon, you can see China, you can see other dimensions, and we should, prepare in time for that.
Mm-hmm. Can I come in on that? I think this is exactly what we were discussing in the beginning of sort of, I hate to call this a silver lining, but I mean, the countries in this region have for a while been talking about increased presence. For NATO, we just discussed this in Jeff with the Joint Expeditionary Forces. And even for a country like Iceland that doesn't have a military, we have a lot of personnel and support capacities that need to have training, need to have oversight, and at the end of the day, need to understand their own backyard. And I think this is something that does create a sense of security for the people who actually live in that part of the world, that they see that there is active training, there is an active presence. And so even though we've wanted to keep the Arctic a low-tension zone, we need to be in touch with reality. This is reality we are living in, so it is a positive development, even though obviously the environment that we're operating in might not be positive.
Yeah, I fully agree with my colleagues. I don't have so much to add to that. Thanks.
Maybe I can add that from my point of view, we are on the right track now on the question of the Arctic security. We all need to take care in the NATO that we continue our work together to strengthen Arctic security. That's why Arctic Sentry is so crucial. What we need is more Arctic capabilities, and what we need also to do, we need plans, we need to practice together like we are doing now in North, and actually we need to understand that Russia is our biggest threat, and it will remain to be a threat for Nordic Arctic countries, and that's why we have to go forward to strengthen Arctic security together.
On that note, we need to wrap up this press conference. Thank you all.
Thanks.
There you go.